Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm very excited today. I just got back literally like an hour ago from Providence, Rhode Island. If you've been watching my channel for a bit, you know that I love Providence, Rhode Island. My boyfriend and I go up there all the time. It's one of my favorite places in the world. It's beautiful, it's fun, and spooky. And whenever I go up there, I tend to come back with a lot of like books and fun things. So I was like, you know what? I think I have enough books to do another haul that I've accumulated over the last couple months. Again, all of these books are always purchased with my own money unless I say so. I believe I have one book here that was gifted to me and the rest were all my own. So yeah, let's dive into this book haul. Also, I'm in like full pajama mode, like just got back from vacation. I don't have to work until tomorrow. So I am living it up in this robe that I got from Killstar and I love it. It is lacy and satiny and vampy and I love it. So yes, I was gonna do my makeup for this and then I was like, I just need to relax for the rest of the day because I'm gonna be working for the next 4 days straight and then I'm going to Chicago, which is gonna be so much fun, for about 4 days. And hopefully gonna be able to read a bunch when I'm there, go to some bookstores up there and all of that jazz. Anyway, let's dive into this book haul. So, I can't believe it took me this long to get it, but I picked up Stephen King's If It Bleeds. This was released, I believe, in 2020. It is a short story collection, and if it's short stories, you know that it's Stephen King. Like, everything here is just like 4 novellas. But I'm currently doing a buddy read with my friend Blackacre Doe on this. I love collaborating with him, and we had both read The Outsider, and this has... one of the stories is a follow-up to The Outsider starring one of the main characters, Holly Gibney, and I really like Holly, so I really wanted to read this. So let's read the back. Stephen King's novellas are their own dark treat, briefer but just as moving and enduring as his longer fiction. Many of his novellas have been made into iconic films, including The Body, Stand By Me, and Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption. King's spectacular range is on display in the 4 iconic new tales in If It Bleeds. In the title story, Holly Gibney from the Mr. Mercedes trilogy and The Outsider must face her fears and possibly another outsider, this time on her own. In Mr. Harrigan's Phone, an intergenerational friendship has a disturbing afterlife. The Life of Chuck explores how each of us contains multitudes. And in Rat, a struggling writer contends with the darker side of ambition. If one of King's great concerns is evil, there's plenty of it in If It Bleeds. There's also evil's opposite, which in King's fiction often manifests as friendship. And King reminds us that life's quotidian pleasures are even more glorious because they are fleeting. The outrageous good fortune of a beautiful blue day after a string of gray ones. The delight of dancing when every move feels perfect. It's in these moments that King's ability to describe pure joy rivals his ability to terrify us. So yeah, love King. As many of you guys know, King is my favorite author, so always have to pick up his new releases. I think I'm going to do an entire video, like author spotlight on King. I'm going to do it in time frame, so I'll do his early work, his like 90s, early 2000s work, and then his more recent work. But I'm still playing around with that because I feel like I need to read a little bit more before I can get like a full grasp on everything. Okay, so next up, this is the only book that I did not pay for. This was sent to me by the author, and this is Faces in a Window by Oliver C. Seneca. Oliver sent me a book of his called When the Sky Goes Dark back in 2020. I believe that was his debut novel to review. It was a really fun kind of zombie, semi-quasi-zombie apocalypse story. Really interesting, really fun. And so when he asked me if I would be interested in reviewing this, I absolutely said yes. I know that I've been saying that I'm not taking a lot of book reviews this year, but authors that I've worked with before, I have agreed to take a couple books from them. And I was very, very grateful that Oliver sent this to me, and I cannot wait to review it. Okay, so on the back. Every school has a secret. After 2 beloved teachers pass away at St. Stephen's Middle School, it is up to Ian Evans and Michelle Thompson to fill their shoes. But their eager anticipation soon turns to terror. They are plagued with unexplainable nightmares and horrific visions. Students who aren't really there, the school catching fire, scenes of their own deaths playing out before them. Uncovering what it all means could cost them their jobs, or their lives. With each other's determination to find the truth of the school's past, and with the help of an old janitor, Ian and Michelle must risk it all to save more than just their souls. I'm really hoping this is kind of like a ghost story moving to the other side kind of story. It sounds really, really interesting. I like Oliver Seneca's writing style. It's very different. It's very realistic in the way that because Oliver is so close to the ages of the characters he writes about, I feel like his younger characters just feel really, really real and tangible. So I really, really do enjoy his writing, and I cannot wait to read what he has for us there. Okay, so I didn't even know this came out, but this is Poison for Breakfast by flashback author Lemony Snicket. I don't know if you guys read A Series of Unfortunate Events as kids, but I did, and it was like my favorite book series. I read all 13 books. I read the unauthorized autobiography. Like, I read everything that had to do with the Baudelaire children. And so when I saw this, a book by Lemony Snicket for adults that's like creepy and spooky, I was like, I have to have this. And it's really short. It can't be more than like 100 pages. Yeah, it's like 152 pages. And just like looks whimsical, looks fun. Love this cover, and I had to have this. So I'm gonna read the back of the book for y'all. Okay, so it says, "Dear reader, are you confused? Do you have any idea what is going on? Of course you are, and of course you don't. This book is about bewilderment, a word which here means not having the faintest idea of what is going on at any given time. It is also something of a murder mystery in which a dreadful crime is investigated in the hopes of finding out what happened to the poor murdered victim. The person investigating is me. So is the poor murdered victim. The clues in this investigation include a suspicious stranger, an upsetting supermarket, the strange way literature is made, painful embarrassment, long songs, improperly prepared eggs, and other things which I happen to think are important. Some people might call Poison for Breakfast a book of philosophy, and hardly anyone likes a book of philosophy. When a person begins to investigate this bewildering world and their own inevitable death, they begin to suffer from a deeply troubling kind of bewilderment, experienced by anyone foolish enough to love literature. Unless you were that sort of person, I recommend reading something else entirely. With all due respect, Lemony Snicket." I just love Lemony Snicket's tone. For those of you guys who do not know, he's an author named Daniel Handler, who's pretty much taken on this character of Lemony Snicket, who becomes a character, like a minor side character, and in this case, a main character in many of his novels. And so I grew up with Lemony Snicket as a character, as a writer, and I just adore it, and I cannot wait to read this. Okay, so next up, I have seen this book so many times on recommended little shelves in indie bookstores, and I love that it has an octopus on it. I am obsessed with octopi, octopuses, whatever the plural is. I know they changed that recently. And so and the premise is really cool, so I finally just caved and bought it. This isn't horror, this isn't thriller, but this is very Victorian. And I mean, look at what I'm wearing. I love the Victorian era. So I really wanted to pick this up and give this a chance. And this is The Watchmaker of Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley, and it just looks so steampunk and cool. And it says on the back, 1883, Nathaniel Steepleton returns home to his tiny London apartment to find a gold pocket watch on his pillow. 6 months later, the mysterious timepiece saves his life, drawing him away from a blast that destroys Scotland Yard. At last, he goes in search of its maker, Keita Mori, a kind, lonely immigrant from Japan. Although Mori seems harmless, a chain of unexplainable events soon suggests he might be hiding something. When Grace Caro, an Oxford physicist, unwittingly interferes, Nathaniel is torn between opposing loyalties. The Watchmaker of Filigree Street is a sweeping atmospheric narrative that takes the reader on an unexpected journey through Victorian London and Japan as its Civil War crumbles long-standing traditions and beyond. Blending historical events with dazzling flights of fancy, it opens doors to a strange and magical past. I really hope this leans really heavily on historical fiction, especially with the Victorian era. I know it's going to be obviously a very fictionalized story, but the concept of mixing the Japanese Civil War with London's Victorian era, I just feel so compelled to read this. Again, I don't know if I'm going to love it. It could be one of those books that's just not for me. But I'm taking that risk. I feel like this would be in an unplugged book box, and I would be like, ooh, this could be right up my alley or not. But I don't know. And I really wanted to give it a shot. The cover, again, really, really pulled me in. So very stoked on that. Okay. Speaking of unplugged, I discovered this author because of a recent unplugged box. I believe it was my July box. And this is Hester Fox, and this is The Widow of Pale Harbor. I recently read The Mist by Stephen King, which takes place during the summertime in Maine, and I was like, I want to read all the gothic horror fiction that takes place in the summertime in Maine, and you know what? That exists on multiple levels. I also just read When Summer Comes Around by Glenn Rolfe, which also is a horror novel in the summer in Maine. Obviously The Mist is. This book, horror in Maine, and the next book I'm going to talk about, also horror in like the beaches of Maine. So we have a theme going on for summer. All right, so again, The Widow of Pale Harbor by Hester Fox. Let's read the back. It says, a town gripped by fear, a woman accused of witchcraft. Who can save Pearl Harbor from itself? Maine, 1846. Gabriel Stone is desperate to escape the ghosts that haunt him in Massachusetts after his wife's death. So he moves to Maine, taking a position as a minister in the remote village of Pale Harbor. But not all is as it seems in the sleepy town. Strange, unsettling things have been happening, and the townspeople claim that only one person can be responsible. Sophronia Carver. God, I hope I said that right. A reclusive widow who lives with a spinster maid in the eerie Castle Carver. Sophronia must be a witch, and she almost certainly killed her husband. As the incidents escalate, one thing becomes clear. They are the work of a twisted person inspired by the wildly popular stories of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, and Gabriel must find answers of Pale Harbor, or Pale Harbor will suffer a fate worthy of Poe's darkest tales. Oh, I love that. So Hester Fox used to work in like a historical museum. She may still work in one. So she writes a lot of historical fiction. The last book I read from her was set in both like modern day as well as the past. This one I believe is just set in the 1840s. So very, very excited to read this. I love that it's going to be following Edgar Allan Poe. I love that it's going to be taking place in Maine. I love that it's going to be set in the 1840s. I'm so pumped for this. Okay, so next up is Dark Across the Bay by Anya Alborn. I discovered Anya Alborn at the end of 2021 when Nightworm sent me a copy of her release Palmetto, and then I read Seed, which is probably her most famous novel, and then I saw that she had just released this at the very end of 2021 as well, and I really, really enjoy Anya Alborn's writing, so I wanted to pick it up. The house sits stoic and slightly askew off the coast of Ravenshead. Its off-kilter windows are both charming and disorienting. Its walls of overstuffed bookshelves both comforting and claustrophobic. When Leo and Lark Parrish arrive at their vacation home with their parents, their mother's idea of a quintessential Maine getaway seems like both a blessing and a curse. Lark, a novice novelist, that sounds like a Lemony Snicket term, a novice novelist. So Lark, a novice novelist, can't wait to find inspiration at the end of a fog-entombed pier. She'll forgive her mother for forcing her into this non-negotiable holiday, but only if she can find her muse among a lapping rocky shore. And while being trapped in a house with no means of escape is the last thing Leo would consider a good time, especially with parents on the precipice of divorce, he can't help but wonder if maybe the change of scenery will help him shake off the chains of sadness brought on by the death of his closest friend. But what starts off as a relatively benign family trip quickly turns menacing. Leo finds himself face to face with what feels like his best friend reaching out from beyond the grave, and only hours after they arrive, Lark begins to receive sinister text, and then they both see it. Someone lurking in the shadows of their rental home, someone who has been expecting them despite the parishes being 1,000 miles away from home. So yeah, I'm hoping this is like ghosts coming from the other side as well. I feel like this could be really, really fun. I like the cover art. I like the premise. I don't really know what exactly it's going to be, but I've noticed that Anya Alborn is really good at kind of like misleading the reader in the beginning of the book to where her novel's going to take you, and then it takes this really dark, depressing turn. So very, very excited to read that. Okay, my next 4 books are a little unusual from what I would normally have. They're all nonfiction, which again, very strange, but I'm really excited about all of them. As I said, I was just up in Providence, so I grabbed these next 2 books from the Lovecraft Arts and Sciences bookstore, which is one of my favorite stores in Providence. It's really, really cool. It's all horror, cosmic horror, indie books, graphic novels, art prints, really, really cool. I got my little Cthulhu statue that lives on my bookshelf from there about 2 years ago. And it's just one of my favorite places to visit in Providence. Anyway, so I wanted to grab this, A History of Vampires in New England by Thomas D'Agostino. I'm so excited about this. It has photos of a lot of the cemeteries that they talk about in this, and it breaks down a full history of the New England vampires. I believe Mercy Brown is probably the most famous that you've heard. She's based in Rhode Island, or is I don't know. Anyway, let me read the back for y'all. It says, when medical science failed to provide a cure, superstition created a fear that gripped New England for over 100 years. New England is rich in history and mystery. All the lemony snicket terms. Numerous sleepy little towns and farming communities distinguished the region's scenic tranquility. But not long ago, New Englanders lived in fear of spectral ghosts believed to rise from their graves and visit family members in the night to suck their lives away. Although the word vampire was never spoken, scores of families disinterred loved ones during the 18th and 19th centuries, searching for telltale signs that one of them might be what is now referred to as the New England vampire. I didn't realize there were so many cases of these. I've definitely heard the Mercy Brown story a bunch. Again, probably the most famous, and I thought that was like the big town like scare of the New England vampire, but there are so many towns and different years listed in this book, and I'm just so excited. And again, I just love that they have all of these photos that were taken to go along with this book, and I just cannot wait. I believe this is by the Haunted America series. I read their Haunted New York, and I have their Salem and New Orleans and their Haunted Providence book as well, so really excited. I really like the Haunted America book, so definitely want to read that. So speaking of, I had to buy Haunted Providence because I go to Providence so often and I love it, and I have an entire video on my channel of spooky, creepy things that you can do in and around Providence, Rhode Island. I'll link it. It's part of my Dark Tourism series, and I can't wait to read what is in here. For those of you who do not know, again, Lovecraft of H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu fame is from Providence. Lizzie Borden lived right outside of Providence and would often go shopping there, so there's a lot of really cool things happening in and around Providence, so I really wanted to grab this, and I love this cover art. Okay, so on the back, this is by, so this is fully called Haunted Providence, Strange Tales from the Smallest State by Rory Raven. And on the back it says, author Rory Raven has collected stories and tales drawn from the history and folklore of one of the oldest cities in the nation. From restless spirits and mysterious deaths to vampires and shadowy strangers, including H.P. Lovecraft, one of the most influential horror writers of the 20th century. Haunted Providence explores the events and untold tales that have made this capital city strangely unique and uniquely strange. And this one also has a bunch of photos taken in here, an entire section on like Lovecraft, the arcade, which is a building that I actually bought this book in, and a bunch of other stuff. So really excited to read this, hoping to get this read really soon because I go to Providence so often. I will be definitely reading the Salem one before I go to Salem in July, so I can do some like super haunted touristy things while I'm there. But yeah, so those are my two like supernatural spooky nonfiction books. I then grabbed this. For those of you who do not know, I am a practicing witch, and this is the Book of Candle Magic by Madame Pamita. Candle Spell Secrets to Change Your Life. I live in New York City. We have one of the oldest witch shops in America. It is called Enchantments here. I believe it is the oldest witch shop in New York. It's been around since like the 80s. And the woman who was working there recommended that I read this book because I really love candle magic. I don't know who Madame Pamita is. Apparently she's like a huge YouTube witch, which like I kind of wish I knew before I bought the book, but whatever. Really interested to see what she has to say. Again, everybody who's practiced witchcraft has kind of like their own personal say and connection, so I'd love to read her own interpretation, but the premise of this book just sounded really fun to me. So it says, featuring authentic candle magic that anyone can do, this joyous book encourages you to dance in the moonlight and rekindle your spark of magic with a little wick, wax, and flame. Renowned practitioner Madame Pamita guides you every step of the way as you perform spells and gain the confidence to create your own. The Book of Candle Magic empowers you to manifest more happiness, love, prosperity, and fulfillment. Learn to make candles from scratch, do candle readings, start your personal grimoire, and add some pizzazz to your rituals, and much more. It's time to reclaim your birthright to use fire to reach your magical goals. This irresistible book shows you how. And mine is signed, which is really cute. She, Madame Pamita, I guess, did a signing at Enchantments, and I was able to get a signed copy after the fact. But yeah, I use a lot of witchcraft for self-care and therapy and my mental health, so I really, again, love candles and would love to see how Madame Pamita also uses candles. And I know that from like what I've read in like little blurbs of the book, she talks a lot about journaling to go alongside of candle magic, which is something very crucial and important to me. So that is the main reason I want to pick this book up, and I'm very excited. Okay, and then last but not least, this is so weird because I usually don't buy these, but this is a cocktail book. So this is called Spirits of the Other World, a grimoire of occult cocktails by Alison Kraubuck, and Reese Everett. So for those of you who do not know, I am a bartender. I work in 2 different cocktail bars and 1 nightclub, and then it's all owned by the same company. And then I'm the cocktail programmer for one of the cocktail bars that I work at, which is a brand new speakeasy in New York. And I did all of the menu for it, and I'm still working on stuff, including our upcoming Halloween menu, which I'm really excited about. But I wanted to read a book that I haven't really heard of before that takes a really, really unique spin. So on the back it says, Alcohol Meets Alchemy in Spirits of the Other World, a spellbook for your senses. Since the dawn of magic, spirituous offerings have appeared in mystical rituals across the globe. In this darkly fascinating grimoire, tales of old have been unearthed to craft 50 cocktails that pay tribute to the specific people, cultures, and ideologies that have shaped human understanding of all that is otherworldly. The ingredients in each drink are intricately woven into the stories that are shared, summoning the realms of astrology, the dark arts, divination, and witchcraft. And so one of the things that really drew this to me is when I was looking at it, there were just a lot of either drinks that, one, they're like beautiful presentation, but drinks of like ingredients that I've worked with and played with before but haven't used in this way, or ingredients I've never seen in drinks before and just really, really wanted to play with and see what I can do with these ingredients on hand. So this is really just like a guidebook for me, but like this has corn kernels in it. Like, and it looks beautiful, you know? So I just really, really, really want to play with some of the recipes in here and see what I can do on my own, because again, I am a bartender. I do work in the cocktail realm of things, and it's something I've been doing for like 10 years now, and I absolutely love and adore. And if I can make it like spooky and horror and witchy, why not? We always call making cocktails potion making at work anyway, so there you have it. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. And if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah!